evening, Mr. White. Thank you for taking the time to have this discussion with me regarding your daughter Emma and her learning journey with us. I just wanted to take this time to speak with you a little bit about how she's doing and some of the interests that I've noticed that she's been engaging with within the room. Okay. So thank you for taking the time to speak with me. Yeah. I'm just going to speak with you in regards to Emma's interests. I've recently had a discussion with your wife, Rachel, who explained to me that she's noticed that Emma is developing quite an interest in the home corner, which I've also noticed in regards to when she's playing in the room. Now, I've also seen that she has quite an interest in all things sensory. Mm-hmm. So whether it be Play-Doh, water play, sand play, indoors, outdoors, anything that she can touch, that she can feel, that she can smell, that she can see, is an interest to her and is when she's the most engaged. So I've also noticed as well that she does have quite a strong family unit with yourself from Samoan descent and her mum coming from New Zealand. She does have that extensive family unit that she's also incorporating within her play. So I'm just wanting to speak to you today about how we're incorporating all those interests within the room. So do you have any questions at the moment that you'd like to ask me?
Just mainly like, how do you use the information we've given you to, expand the program?
Of course. So we use what we call assessment tools. So these are documentations that we use in relation to information that we've gathered ourselves, information that we've gleaned from you, from incursions, excursions. So any source of information we gather, we pull, and we implement these assessment tools. So in this instance, in relation to Emma, I've used what's called a summative assessment. So that's where I've summarised and reported all the interests and all the learning that she's documenting over the course of several months. Generally speaking, that will be up to about 6 months, and we do that 6 monthly. So she'll have one in the middle of the year, she'll have one at the end of the year. So in a sense, it's reporting her progress and her achievements based on what we use in our documentation, which is the early years learning framework and the outcomes that we use to support and guide that learning. We also use learning stories, photographs, parent feedback, which I've gotten from both yourself and your wife, and have implemented all about me feedback forms where you've filled them out and returned them to us, and that's how I've discovered that she has quite that extensive family unit. We also use what is called the National Quality Framework, and we often do a lot of guidance from early educational experts and theorists. For instance, with your feedback in regards to Emma's family unit, I've incorporated the theories of Yuri Bronfenbrenner, I can't even say his name, Bronfenbrenner, who developed the ecological systems theory, where every environment a child comes into contact with will shape and guide the way they learn. So by using this theory, I'm able to guide how I'm perceiving Emma's learning, how you're perceiving Emma's learning, and we're able to come together and guide that learning ourselves. Okay. Yeah. So do you feel that I've summarised the documentation of the learning?
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'd like to just touch a little bit on positive education. I'm not sure if you know what that is.
No, what's tell you about that?
So that's actually a new form of documentation that's recently come in the last year or so. The Early Years Learning Centre that Emma attends is actually become in partnership with Geelong Grammar. So what they've done is they've formed the Partnership for Positive Education, which is an approach to education that blends academic learning and wellbeing and mindfulness. And what we are trying to incorporate is focusing on character strengths. So things that will help children be able to overcome obstacles, challenges, learn to self-regulate, and what we do is we focus on character strengths. So for instance, discussing with you earlier with Emma's interest in sensory, I would attribute that to her character strength of curiosity and zest. So what I would like to do as well is taking those interests, I would also like to scaffold upon them.
What's scaffolding?
So scaffolding is a process where we take the interests that we've gathered. So Emma's love of her family unit. She's developing quite an interest in the home corner and all things sensory. So I would then take those interests and I would extend them further through experiences. For instance, with her sensory experiences and her interests, I've developed a sensory table and it explores touch, taste, smell, hearing, all the senses. There's a variety of equipment and resources that she can explore and extend in her own time, in her own way. With the home corner, I noticed recently that in the last 8 months or so, you've just welcomed a new baby into the family. Emma has extensively told me about this and her love of engaging with her little sister and helping you and your wife in your support of nurturing. So I've included cots, prams, bottles, dolls, anything that she can use to extend on that. She'll often come straight to that home corner and she'll often reenact things that she's seen at home that you and your wife do. For instance, feeding a bottle while having a cup of coffee. So it's having that, it's just what we use to assess how the learning is going, how we're going to extend on it, and the tools that we're going to use to get us there. So you may look, for instance, oh, look, Emma's playing in the home corner, but we can say to you, Emma's exploring her creativity and her curiosity by mimicking her environmental social system, which is something that the theorist I mentioned before, Yuri, touches on with his varying ecological systems. So we have our immediate ecological system, which is you, your wife, your immediate family, and then we extend it through each layers, and that's where we come in and we will build on that, and that's where the scaffolding comes into place.
Okay, all right.
So is there anything that you're wanting to know at the moment?
No, so you're doing a great job.
Okay, fantastic. So there's just one more thing that I'd like to touch on. Just a matter of how I'd like to extend her socio-cultural backgrounds. So you and your wife, Rachel, have also given me quite a bit of information. You've given me access to family photos, which is fantastic. So again, to scaffold on that, we've created a family book. With your wife being from New Zealand heritage, she's given me a list of Maori words that I can incorporate into my vernacular and the way that I'm able to communicate with Emma. And she's shown quite an interest, and we have actually incorporated into our group time various just small, simple words that we can also teach all the other children as well. And we sing a seafood Maori song called Kena Kena, which comes with the Maori wording and actions. Fantastic. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time to meet with me tonight. In regards with her learning, we often follow the early years learning framework in conjunction with the positive education, which I mentioned earlier. And what we use as well is one of another assessment tools that will be available for your use as well as mine is as portfolios. So this will have the learning stories in it. It will have her artwork. So this will document a lot of the assessment and the learning that I've mentioned previously will be located in this portfolio. You're able to sign it out whenever you need to and add to it, and we encourage parents and families to add their own learning and their own documentation from what you see at home, and then that's another way for us to be able to extend on her learning.
Okay, sounds great.
Fantastic. Well, I just want to thank you again for coming in and taking the time to speak with me about Emma and her interests.
No problem.
And I look forward to our continued mutual reciprocal relationships.
Sounds good, thanks.
Thank you for coming.
You guys will show our left hands.
It's not stopping. It's a whole 9 minutes and 23 seconds.
Yeah, we'll try off the end here.